because I'm usually telling you the next day after drinking. All right. Lords of Apathy.
Lords of Apathy. What's going on, people? So, quick conversation, right? Why don't you pop it off?
Yeah, so outrage culture.
Outrage culture. Let's start with the definition real quick. Call-out culture, also known as outrage culture, is a form of public shaming wherein people identify offenses committed by members of their community and publicly call out the offenders, thereby shaming or punishing them. That's another thing. Like Ellen DeGeneres, she's not a member of any community. I bet you the people that were outraged,
Yeah.
they don't even know her unless they get tickets to her show.
I can't imagine. I don't know. I don't know if it was the LGBT community that was outraged or who it was, but it was just
I
like
bet you who's left.
there was nothing to be outraged with. She was watching a ball game with somebody who she said's a friend, whether you like that person or not.
Yeah.
And it's just like
Especially due to the fact that they're in the same tax bracket.
Yeah, you made it. Yeah, you made a good point there. These people probably tend to hang out with each other more than they do. Why have an average Joe friend? And but I think this all culminated from PC culture, which we needed. But then it came from probably one class of people saying we're not going to be treated like this anymore, and that which again was needed. But then it snowballed into different wars of wishing happy holidays war on Christmas. Let's call a Christmas tree a holiday tree, so on and so forth. And then it snowballed into we have Donald Trump, and us as coastal left people don't know how to deal with it. So we're going to not only call out words that we dislike, but we're going to analyze everything and see if there's an underlying tone with that. The combination of not knowing what to do with Donald Trump and having social media have just fueled this thing to be
And I think it's a little bit of power that groups have realized that they had.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit abuse of that power. By what I mean by that is that they know, and corporations are scared shitless, they know that if we get enough people to complain, possibly boycott, then we can make a change. And with that, then you have these people losing their jobs, losing their contracts and whatnot. I mean, and one thing that you do say, and I kind of disagree, I don't think it was a class of people that were constantly offended in regards to what people were saying. I think it was basically the majority, privileged whites, and the minority, which was all minority, not just blacks. I don't think it wasn't a black thing, because Asians there were words of slur, Hispanics. It was just the minority. And people wanted a set of language where everyone was included. But then, like you said, it spiraled to the point where, I don't know, it's also this generation. Is it the generation Y, millennials?
It's a millennial.
But
It's a millennial
it's
thing.
also the fact, and I don't know, some people say the term like they were coddled as children, and maybe this is the way they are right now, which I don't think it's just them, because it's all across the board. But it's like, if someone feels offended, they don't know how to cope with it, and outrage or protest or something is that go-to. And the fact of just social media having something, a platform to just, I think that's another thing too. It's just, once you get on a computer and you find like-minded individuals.
Yep. It feels, and you say and do things you wouldn't say in real life.
Oh yeah.
So, Jesus. So my big thing was, and yeah, just to kind of correct what I was saying, I think PC culture was this thing where it was needed, and it just kind of, it kind of got to the point where it was white out of touch liberals telling white out of touch conservatives how to speak to people. And I think that's basically what we're dealing with now with stand-up comedy and things like that. I think it's liberal white folks that are kind of running the show, thinking they have good intentions. But when in I don't know, I think it was
I
in a
have to agree
month's
with that.
time when Steve Harvey, Ellen, and Chrissy Teigen all were corrected. You attack. You didn't. Maybe they didn't attack, but you had a problem with the way a black successful man who was homeless at one point speaking. You had a problem with one of the first out celebrities. I wouldn't say one of the first out, but one that was a big deal. And a woman who's on the left, very far on the left, a huge critic of Trump, a woman, a non-white woman will say, you have outrage culture, got them all. Who are we?
What did Chrissy Teigen
who are
do?
we protecting if we've attacked these people? If these people are guilty of this shit, who are we protecting? Because it doesn't seem like minority groups.
Well,
Chrissy Teigen.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's not supposed to be something of protecting minority groups. You're going back to the. You're going back to the PC culture. It's not that. It's supposed to be all inclusive. My thing is, very valid question, but we're not protecting minorities here. We're supposed to be. Someone's supposed to be offended, and they're supposed to give their opinion on it and keep it going. But when you're outraged, like, first of all, what are you outraged about? Let's take the Ellen DeGeneres. She's friends with Bush.
You're outraged. They're outraged because of his what he conducted in his presidency.
What he stood for, or
yeah.
he was just on the right, basically.
That could also be it. Yeah.
Now, okay, that outrage. What does that turn into in regards to Ellen DeGeneres? What's her punishment? Her punishment. Does that make sense? It's like a formula where it doesn't need to be a formula. So she's friends with Bush. Outrage culture seizes the opportunity to what? To punish her? What do you punish?
At least
you're
test
punishing
the waters.
someone to be you're punishing someone because they have a friend, someone that you don't care for, their political views or whatever. Dude, this is quite the opposite of all inclusive.
Yeah, it is exactly. Well, I think what they do is they cast the line to test the waters.
Who's they?
Whoever's getting outraged, whoever's stirring the pot on a lot of these things. Okay, we're gonna call it out. We're gonna see what happens. Let's see if it draws attention. If it gets enough attention, let's start calling for punishments, resignations, execs to fire, whatever. They just want to see how far they can take it. And again, the biggest problem with this, I'm going to call it, this is liberal idealism. There's nothing liberal about it. What they're doing is, it's crime and punishment. You fucked up, you're punished. There's no understanding of how the culprit got there, why they got there, or there's no room for forgiveness either. That's my big problem with
Here's the thing is, it's like there is no crime. Ellen DeGeneres,
in their minds,
Steve Harvey. Well, that's the thing. In their minds, like everybody's living in their own little fantasy world, and they feel like they need justice. Makes no sense to me. You know what? And I'll say this, and I'll end it off with this. I'm offended and I'm outraged on outrage culture.
Me too.
And I want them to lose their social media rights.
Sure.
Now, so let's get on the computer and see how many people that'll back us up.
Let's do it. By the way, maybe we'll get Obama. He called out outrage culture the other day. Watch
Did he?
the left cancel him.
I thought this dude was on vacation for like the rest of his life.
I don't know.
He needs to be. Lords of Apathy.